ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Silhouettes JB Podcast. Silhouettes JB Podcast. If you listen to our past episodes, you know that we are connoisseurs of sorts of Oh Hello, John Mulaney, Nick Kroll, the podcast. Listen to the podcast and then listen to our podcast. It's the deepest dive into Jersey boys you've ever taken in your life, you ever will take, ever have taken. I think that's took it. Took it. William Shakespeare,
the bard,
the bard, the fucking the winter of this. Frankie is the winter of discontent. This is Frankie's, and you know the whole thing. You know, if you listen to Rick Ellis's episode, you'll know that the whole thing from 12th Night. Some are born great, some have greatness thrust upon them, and you know,
achieve greatness
and then Rick Ellis, he twisted it. So we've got Andrew Frace in the Zoom studio tonight.
Yes, we
Thanks.
do. And
Thank
wait,
you.
who are you? Who's this other male voice talking?
Oh, yes. Hi there. I'm David.
And I'm Gia, right? I think that's my name.
I think
Everyone's been calling us the wrong name.
David and Gia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you,
thank
Andrew.
You for having us.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's such a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll tell you what. So Andrew has his own podcast, which we'll definitely get into. But we started like alluding to a lot of Andrew's other works, and we have a whole bio ready for him. So David, I think we should get going.
Yeah, put your mittens around your kittens, all you
And
submarine
away we go.
watchers.
Yeah.
Andrew Frace was a swing is a swing at New World Stages right now. Let's have an answer for the people. Are you coming back to New World Stages?
If they will
November?
have me, I will certainly. Family's everything. So
Exactly. Okay.
I don't believe that I'm in the show till the lights hit my face, but
we get that, man.
and even after all these years of being with the show, it's just a blessing that keeps coming my way. So if Jersey boys would like to have me around, I think that Andrew Frace would like to remain in the family.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. So yeah.
Well, we're praying, Andrew, November 15th. Please let that date stick, because that was announced on May 11th,
right.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we're not even at that 5-month mark. No.
Listen, Tina Fey said it, so it must be true, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah, we have to see, right. It all goes back to the beginning. Whoever's saying it, it's true.
Yeah.
So hopefully November 15th. Yes, please continue.
Yes.
So he's been with Jersey Boys since 2009. Would that be correct?
11 years. 11 years.
Yeah.
He started as a swing at the Palazzo Hotel, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Where he then took over as Joey, understudying Frankie, Bobby, and Tommy. And then he played Norm and understudying Tommy when it transferred to the Paris Hotel. He played Barry Belson on the national tour, the first national. And now he's a swing and understudies Bob at New World Stages.
He's got the and he has been working, performing some of America's and the world's famous hits. All right, singing somebody else's famous hits. So Andrew toured the country in The Lion King as Ed. Come on, Ed, another Italian name. Ed,
Mm-hmm.
Eddie, perfect. One of the three main hyenas. He also understudied Timon and Zazu, as mentioned before.
Which it's so interesting. Aaron De Jesus also did The Lion King.
Right, and so did John Gardner.
So did John Gardner. So
John Gardner.
John Gardner. The intersection of Jersey Boys and The Lion King. It's just that was the best.
It was. Hey, well, what's opening first? Wait, when is The Lion King opening? Reopening.
The Lion King. I don't know when they're coming
They're in
back.
rehearsals right now.
I know that they're in rehearsals.
Yeah.
Not sure.
But I'm not sure what their date is.
Okay. Well, Andrew,
I heard November
already
15th for Jersey Boys, and I was like, oh, it's back then.
That's it. That's all you
That's
need
it.
to
That's
know.
like,
That's what I have to worry about right now.
That's not true, but I was just like, that's when everything's gonna be back, right then, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
Hampton's
happy.
not coming back until December.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm cool with having it spread out just in case anything happens. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good medium.
Mm-hmm.
Not too cold,
Exactly.
hopefully. But we'll see.
Not too cold, not too cold to be winter, too hot to be summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Uh, Andrew was in the Million Dollar Quartet 3 times. 3 times. Most recently in the role of Johnny Cash in a regional production at the Arvada Center in Colorado. He also played the role of Johnny Cash in the famed long-running sit-down production at the Apollo Theater, which it was transferred to the Apollo Theater in Chicago, and stood by for the roles of Johnny Cash and Sam Phillips on the national tour of Million Dollar Quartet.
Yeah, 2 national tours. Amazing. And his regional credits include J. Pierpont Finch and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I would love to talk to you about about that was so fun. At the Heritage Rep Theater. And he was also you were Gil in the original cast of Finding Nemo at Disney World.
Yeah, well, I started as the role of Anchor, one of the sharks, and then I moved into the role of Gil. But yes, it was all within the first year, the opening cast. We can talk about that all you want. I mean, honestly, I'll talk to you guys about anything you want to know.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, plus Willy Wonka and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory at the Kennedy Center and so much more.
And he's been in our living rooms too, where he was on the hit NBC shows New Amsterdam and The Blacklist, as well as stars Power Book 2 Ghost. Did you do any episodes with Corey Giacomo?
I didn't. Listen, I had the table read. He was in an episode. He was in the episode before me and after me, and I was in the one in the middle.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I really wanted to be on set with Corey. I really did, especially the role that he plays. It's so not him.
Yeah.
It's so not him. And that's why it's such a great role to play, because it's like the complete opposite of who he is. But he's, he can obviously turn that on. And he's such a great guy. Wonderful, wonderful guy to understudy for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I've been very lucky in that sense too. I've, understudying and swinging and standing by for a lot of really, really amazing, humble, generous, kind actors for sure.
Well, thank goodness.
Wow.
That's what we hear about everybody in the Jersey Boys family, especially with Richard H. Blake, Mike Backus. Well, he did that with him in A Bronx Tale.
In A Bronx Tale, yeah.
Did you take over when Corey broke his elbows?
I did. I mean, I went on for Corey in the 4th preview at Jersey Boys, but that was because he was sick. And there's a funny story surrounding my first New York debut in the role of Bob Gaudio. But we can get into a little later if you'd like, if you want to remember that.
We'll get into that for sure.
Andrew Frace has a lot of crazy stories being a swing that I would be happy to share with you guys.
We're here for it.
Yeah.
That's what our audience wants to know.
When he came in, he broke both of his arms and I certainly helped out in that situation. I think we did some rotations, and I don't know if we might have even brought somebody in to cut it. It all kind of meshes together.
Okay.
So sometimes when somebody's out for a long time, they'll bring somebody in to cover for the role. Obviously, sometimes they implement the swings, and it kind of just depends on the situation and like the uniqueness of it and what the needs for the show are. So I think it's like if you go on for the role for 2 weeks straight, then
you have to be bumped up
the role. Yeah. And that actually happened to me in Vegas a long time ago when Eric Bergen left the show. I was on for like 2 weeks, and Drew Gehling was like brought in, and it was just so strange to have Andrew Frace teaching Drew the show, because he was like the actual Bob and I was the new Bob, and it was kind of laughable because I was like, well, already what to do, and you do it better than me, so like well, no, I mean that's just kind of how I don't have any ego about that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of like, well, do you want to go on tonight? Because I mean, I love going on, but you know what you're doing. And it was this was within the first year that I was out there, so I was really nervous, and then to have like Drew come in and then he's like shadowing me backstage was just surreal to me, because I was like,
what
the
a cool
much
moment
better than I do at this point. So
wow. Well, thank God you have no ego in that case, Andrew. Like that's amazing and so unheard of. Like,
Well,
in any, honestly, in any capacity.
swinging's
no
the
ego.
greatest acting lesson I've ever gotten in my entire life.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
That's what
And
everyone says, and
David
that's
and I would love to be a swing in anything. Like we love having
just
that
to, yeah.
responsibility and
Yeah,
being
I
someone
mean,
that people can rely on.
I think that for me, it made me just a better performer in general, and it got me out of my head a lot because I'm a pretty heady actor. I'm like you said, a practical. I approach things from a very kind of heady space, and you know, when you don't have time to get in your head, that's the best time to have on stage.
We saw that you put Salute on one of your posts on Instagram. I don't know if you were quoting anything, but that made us really happy.
Well, there's this show that I know a little bit about called Jersey Boys that I've
we've heard
Yeah.
we've heard little to zero about it.
yeah.
I've never.
It's
really
funny,
Never
you
heard of that place.
You guys actually know more about me than I know about myself.
Uh,
When you sent me my little bio, I was like, I'm so thankful they did that for me because you were gonna say like, when did you start? And I'm gonna be like, do I have my abacus? Like, I don't. When
my
when did I
abacus.
start? Yeah, I just show up and do what they tell me to do. With Ron and with the entire team, they really do put value in you as an individual and what your strengths are and what you lend to the show, and they're able to get things out of you that you didn't even know you had inside yourself.
Or any time when you're like, holy shit, I know I could do this, or
It really was when they came to me early into my time with Jersey Boys. I think I was about a year in, and I came on as a swing, obviously, for the Vegas company. I'm kind of a type A person, so I wanted everything to be perfect right from the beginning, and I wanted all my 7 roles. I don't even know how many roles it was at the time, but it was a bunch. And so one of the things I learned really quickly, and it's still a struggle for me, is to be patient and trust the process. About a year and a half into my time with Jersey Boys, they came to me and they said, "We'd like you to start covering Frankie now." And my initial reaction was one of, "Can I say no?" Because I didn't feel that I would be able to do it. And they said, "Why don't we decide what you can and cannot do?
who
We
said
brought
that?
you on for a reason,
Right? Yes.
and we're why don't you let us figure out if you can do it or not?" There was a mutual amount of hard work on their end and a mutual amount of trust that they put in me, and I had to put trust in them. And at the end of the day, I felt like my confidence really shot up after that experience because I'm wildly insecure.
Are you
I mean,
really?
I don't even like the sound of my own voice. Most performers like the sound of their own voice, and I don't even consider myself a singer. So it was all very
Whoa,
new to
whoa,
me.
whoa.
Yeah.
You don't? Why
No,
not?
not at all. I like to sing, and I like to monologue on pitch.
Monologue on pitch.
Yeah.
What does
But
that mean exactly?
Well, I try to approach singing from an acting perspective because
Right.
my main passion and the thing that I love the most is acting. And for me, singing, I don't, I've had a lot of years of my life figuring out what my voice is, and I actually prefer to hide behind character voices. For example, like learning to sing like Frankie or Johnny Cash, or these kind of I like to
oh,
emulate, and I like to listen to different singers and try to match what they sound like.
Right.
From an acting perspective, that's really exciting to me. But like, you'll never really catch Andrew Frace doing his own cabaret act at 54 Below because
that's
I'm not very confident in my voice, quite honestly. I prefer an ensemble, and I don't mind having a solo here and there. But for me, and I think this is why I like being a swing. I like ensemble singing and harmony singing, for example, which is great for Jersey Boys. That's when I'm having the most fun. When I'm singing when I'm singing with the 3 other guys in whichever role I'm on for, that's more rewarding to me than having a solo. I don't know why that is.
I
I
love it.
totally
Yeah.
100%
agree.
understand that.
Yeah.
I come from a long history of singing in choirs and quartets and groups, and just that the family. I mean, listen, always going back to family is everything,
Mhm.
right? It's that, and it's so intimate. You know, lending your voice to a group that creates a harmony. You know,
Yeah.
so that it's so fulfilling in its own way. But what about when you're singing the top of Cry for Me?
You know, the top of Cry for Me is pretty great when you're playing the role of Bob, because Bob is not the singer. Bob is the writer. And I've been told, so what I mean is, from an acting perspective, when I begin as Bob, Bob is not necessarily a confident singer. And also he's auditioning for these guys. And Bob is confident in his writing abilities. He's confident in the way that he is musically very gifted in writing songs. But Bob has no interest in being a singer. So I approach that song that I'm nervous. I'm also, in front of these. I'm kind of outside of, you know, what I'm used to. I have street smarts, but I'm, also book smart. Bob has more book smarts at that moment. He's lived a little bit of life. He's toured, and he's been with older guys. He's been on the bus with, these greats, like Sam Cooke and, Jackie Wilson and all these guys. And so he
The
can hang
fucking
with those
Everly
guys.
Brothers,
ancillary
right.
Yeah.
ancillary rights.
So yeah,
you
he
know,
knows,
favored nations.
he's very smart. So I've always approached that song as an audition song where he's auditioning. And so he doesn't really hit his stride until the guys all come in.
Ah,
And that's
no
when he
one's
becomes very
explained it like
comfortable.
that
That's
before.
the first time he sings
That's
higher than an E flat is I love you so, when Frankie does that
exactly.
little, wow. But
And
because
so
then he's singing with everyone, so he feels comfortable with everyone, and then that's how he's able to wail on that G at the end.
Yeah.
Cry. So
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen some Bobs, they'll occasionally get up from out off the bench at certain times.
And
and that's more towards the end, because that he recognizes, in the way that I perceive it, in the way that I play the role, that's the sound that he's looking for, and he's just a part of that. Frankie is the voice. When he hears Frankie's voice, it instills confidence in him, because he's finding himself in the right place at the right time with the right talent that's now surrounding him. And he says he doesn't write. Bob doesn't write for himself. He writes for Frankie. He writes for the group. So the way that I try to play Bob in that sense is, he says it. He said it's all. See, that's the thing. The beauty of the script is it's all right there. He says it. I was never comfortable in the spotlight. The rest of these guys, very dramatic. It's all there from the very beginning. And if you approach it knowing who Bob is at the end, I mean, he doesn't know that when he's in that moment, but me, the actor, knows that. So he's not going to just sit down and start wailing on a song, because that's not who Bob is. That's my opinion. I mean,
No,
that's how what
Andrew-
I've been kind of directed and taught. And
Yes.
for example, because I'm not confident in my voice, or I've gotten more confident over the years, of course. I was always told, act the song. If you act the song, the singing will come.
Wow. Is it-
Salute.
is it
Now we
Des
can
tell you
talk
that, or
about,
did-
breath control, and we can talk about
Okay.
support, and we can, I can pull my tongue, and I can do all these other things that make it easier to sing and give you the stamina, and then allow for style and all these other things. But for me, the most rewarding, especially if I'm seeing a show or acting a show, it always comes down to the acting for me.
And it's so interesting. If you look at the roles you've done, you got Zazu, Timon,
So much
Ed,
fun.
Johnny Cash. But it's wow.
But it's all in a group. Like the way you approach theater, like, is that like you're all about contribution, not competition.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
And that's
the
so
only
important.
reason that I'm in theater is because of inclusion and because of collaboration.
Yes, it's such a practical way to look at it too, because everyone gets so caught up, in the spotlight or with whatever they want to do in theater. Like that is what it's all about. and the way that you approach Bob with such a practical approach, because you're right, everything is told at the beginning. It's just like when you get into a relationship, you know, everything is already laid out on the table. And we talked about this.
You would
Vaughn.
hope.
Right.
True. You would hope. Usually it is.
I've been in some relationships where it was not laid
not
out.
there.
Oh my God.
I
True.
discovered
You know
things
what?
later
And
on. Yeah.
You know
Right.
what? Like, and Bob was like, I want a 4-way split. He laid it out on the table.
Mhm.
Yep.
He's like,
In his
I don't
dreams.
give a, yeah, and it's in
Yeah.
his dreams. It's a 4-way split in his
Mhm.
dreams. So,
Yeah.
wow.
So, well, you were saying how you were type A, but so do you like you're also maybe a little more left brain than right brain? Or are you pure split brain? What do you think?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't really know. I mean, let me use my brain. I'm a very organized person. You know, I think I'm best at subjects that have no answers. Like, you know, philosophy,
Yeah.
psychology, religions, you know, writing and music and theater and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, so science and math are not my strong suit.
Okay. Well, you minored in psychology, right?
I did minor in psychology.
Did Elon make Elon University, where you graduated magna cum laude? Fucking awesome.
Thanks.
Did they require you to choose a minor?
They did not require you to choose a minor. I chose the minor on my own because I loved the study of psychology, but I was really doing it to try to be a better actor.
Perfect.
I'm fascinated by people and trying to understand why they do what they do and why they act a certain way and how they act a certain way and what makes them tick and what makes them just makes a person. And then I try to implement that when I act.
Where does hindsight bias come in when you're thinking of characters, particularly in Jersey
Oh, so
Boys,
like
'cause
knowing
it's
where
all
they're
flashbacks.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, you know, it's I don't know, exist truthfully in any given moment. You know, like all the stuff that we were taught. That's a great question. I mean, I think it's just as simple as, you know, not playing the result of the scene, because in the scene, in that present moment, you're not gonna know where you're gonna end up.
Do you think Rick Ellis and Marshall Brickman gave all the actors a challenge for that because of the fact that the whole show takes place in flashback? Frankie's moment right before he finds out that Francine's dead, you know, things are all. So he's doing that Summers in Jersey monologue. You know, things are getting better with us. The phone rings. He hears the phone. Frankie, present day, knows what's happening, knows what's going to happen, knows what he's walking into. But the line gets blurrier and blurrier the farther into the show you get.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I'm lucky enough I get to be a reader for the show a lot too. So I get to see people come in with a different take on something, or you know, and I've sat in a room with Richard a lot. And Richard is very good at being able to not present that as a challenge, but as kind of a gift in a sense, because that's just the way that I just think it's brilliant, quite honestly, the way that it's presented in that sense. And I also think that, you know, I love the direct address. I think that construct is really cool. I think it invites the audience in, and then you're more invested. You're a part of the story as opposed to watching a story.
Right.
I think that is a really brilliant way to get an audience to root for you.
That's the
You know?
Goodfellas
So
approach.
that's exactly. And what's
Yeah.
so interesting, if you look at most of the trailers that they've done for the show over the years, I always think of the one with Dominic, the one that starts with Dominic Nolfi doing the "You're from my neighborhood, you got 3 ways out" monologue, where the camera is on him, but he's not looking to the camera. He's looking out. But then if you watch the tour, if you watch the trailer for the UK tour back in 2014, the guy playing Tommy is doing that. It starts with that same monologue, but he's playing directly to the camera. Now, we've been talking about this, and for the streaming event, which, you know, a lot of your friends were in, you know, thankfully, you know, we're getting to bring Jersey Boys to the stage production to a brand new audience. Nick Jonas. I mean, so you got his fans coming in also, but we've been talking about how they're gonna present the direct addresses. Are they gonna play it out to the audience, or we're not sure exactly who directed it for camera, whether it was Des or Des McAnuff or whoever, whether they directed the direct addresses to the camera, and how much of an impact do you think that would make on the audience watching versus if it would be just seeing the actors talking to the audience or whoever was there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tricky tightrope when you're dealing with TV film, because in the theater, a direct address is just very, you're not at like you're not framed, from like, TV film is just such a different beast than live theater. So the direct address has to be carefully crafted. I mean, there's very few TV shows and films that have implemented that, in my opinion, well. I mean, you've got something like House of Cards, like, but or and I think I'm not answering your question. I just think it's very difficult to do direct address when it comes to TV film.
Right. The one thing I can think of really is when Harry Met Sally.
Right. Yeah.
Separate.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and there's of course other instances of it working. I mean, I think oftentimes
Annie Hall. Right.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do, like, because I had always envisioned this is just Andrew Frace, who has no say in creating a TV or film version of Jersey Boys, but I had kind of envisioned it as like a Goodfellas type thing, where it would be more voiceover and then seeing the action of the voiceover as opposed to a direct address into the camera. But that's just like, I don't get paid to direct films or TV, so
no, well, because
I think it's just difficult. I think it's difficult, and I'm not sure actually how they did it. Most recently, out in Cleveland, for the net. I don't know where they're gonna do it, but I don't know what
one of the big streaming
one of the streaming services. I'm not sure which one yet, but
one of the big ones. Yeah.
But I'm not sure how they went about doing that. It might be so. The other thing is if like something like we've seen it with Hamilton and such. If it is, it's also different when you're filming the live theatrical performance as opposed to making a movie of the show. Personally, for me, the ones that I have enjoyed have actually been the Hamilton. I believe they did it with
I mean, Shrek, Legally Blonde, Memphis. I mean, pro shots have been around for years.
Right.
Into the Woods, Sweeney Todd. I mean,
exactly.
Stephen Sondheim paid a lot of money to really digitally capture his shows in the best light that they could be. But I feel like this Jersey Boys is so unique that it is direct addresses. I mean, in Hamilton, I guess Aaron Burr is directly addressing the audience, but this Jersey Boys is
be
so
in your face, a hybrid. I hope.
Yeah. No, see, that's the thing. I love the direct address. It's my, and then I got to do, so learning direct address was really helpful, like playing Sam Phillips in $1 Million Dollar Quartet, because he's direct address for a lot of the show, in and out of direct address and then back into the show and then direct address and back into the show. And so direct address for me now is comfortable because I've existed in shows where that's implemented a lot. And so it just, the direction of a direct address can be different too, because it's like, who are you talking to?
Right.
In a scene, who you're talking to, but are you talking to best friends? Are you talking to, are you talking to reporters? So you have to figure out as the character who you're talking to, because that informs how you're going to speak to them,
So let's say, let's get super duper specific. Let's deep dive. Because this is such a fascinating.
By the way, everything
subject
that I say is not right or the right answer about anything.
No.
I just want to preface that.
Well, so just so everyone knows, whenever we talk about the streaming event, these are all just predictions. And it's funny because that is a funny thing to talk about, because for me, everyone knows this, if you've seen this show before, I studied journalism, like that's me, I'm a journalist, and I'm also an actor, and I try to be all these different things. But
Jack of all trades.
I thank you. I try to be. But that's a whole other story we could talk about. But when it comes to entertainment news or with anything involving the streaming event or anything in the industry, sometimes it's like, should anybody even say anything because we don't have an authority on something, or like our predictions or are certain things even worth it if it's not the real deal.
Gia does not like when someone is in talks to play a role.
Right. I'm like, just wait until it's official. I don't care.
Well, listen, I tell you this, guys, I'm so on board with that. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I understand why people do it. You know, I have a whole other thing about social media, but when people say big news coming, what the fuck am I going to do with that?
Right. Exactly.
The worst, in my opinion. Booked it. What?
Right.
Can't talk about it. Go fuck yourself. Like, I mean, what is that? I mean, that's completely ego driven. I mean, I don't know what that even is.
No, you're absolutely right. Everything that we try to
also,
avoid
if you signed an NDA, what are you doing anyways? Putting that out there.
Right.
You know, I just don't. I just listen. I think it's great to celebrate your victories, and you know, but like celebrate it when you can talk about it.
Right, and actually share things.
Or tell your mom and dad and tell them not to go on Facebook and, you know, like whatever.
Right.
That's my
own
thing.
So how do you feel about equity right now? Because there are a lot of people who have joined the union, like in the past month or two. Like, do you think it's fair how equity has gone about it? Do you think that any kind of NDA or anything that involves the union is in a good spot right now? What do you think? Well,
I mean, quite honestly, I don't know. My idea is that the union is not in a good spot right now. I don't know how the money works, but I assume that equity is struggling. I'm gonna say that I look at it positively because I've always thought it was a little strange that there's union and non-union anyways. This is like kind of where I have to be like a little not careful because I just don't have enough information to be able to speak on it eloquently, I guess is what it is.
I don't think anyone does.
I think that there are pros and cons to listen, let's put it this way. Any decision that equity makes will piss people off.
Yeah.
It'll also make other people happy. Actors love to be upset about things. You're never going to please everybody. And so what might be great for one person is going to be terrible for somebody else. So I don't think this is a very gray area. I mean, there's certain rights and wrongs in this world, but equity's not there to like figure that out, in my opinion. Obviously, huge issues. Yes, this is a hard thing for me to talk about too, because I've been a member of equity for a long time, and I've often, maybe naively, is that a word? Naively, thought they thought, this is a pretty good deal. I get health cover, but there could be improvements to everything. Now, I'm also talking from a perspective as somebody who's been really blessed to be able to work and professionally for, many years. So I feel as though my job in the union is to be an actor and to listen.
Amen to that.
And so, I can talk about it a lot, but it'd be better for me to listen.
Right.
Everybody
Andrew
likes to talk about it, but nobody listens. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Is that a cop-out?
No.
No.
I really don't think that is a cop-out. And at least from what I've been seeing,
I mean, if you ask me a
Instagram,
specific, I can be like, well, whatever.
Because isn't that the problem? Isn't the problem is no one's listening?
Well, the other thing that's really hard is everybody's trying, there are so many things that need to be tackled in this world, and everybody is valid and everybody's important. And how do you measure what's important and what's not important, and how do you tackle it all at once? And I just think I'm a big proponent, especially over the past year, of something of grace, giving people grace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just really what it is.
No one wants to be the bad guy. Like Tommy DeVito, he didn't want to be the bad guy.
No, nobody wants to be the bad guy, and people make mistakes, and it's how it's handled, and I that's a whole like other like moral code thing, but
right.
But I do think so I don't have a and it's also here's the thing too, because I've talked about this a lot with friends. I'm like always comparing it to him, because I'm an Aaron Burr in the world. But
Aww.
if like if you don't, I want to smile. I just want everybody to get along and smile. I think most people want that, honestly.
Talk less, smile more.
Talk less, smile more. That's been my kind of mantra as a human for my entire life.
But I think
although I love to talk, so
you can listen. You can change it to listen more, smile more.
Yeah.
Right.
And
how about that?
And I've had a lot of friends that have said, but if you don't stand for something, you don't stand for anything at all. I was like, yes, I stand for a lot of things.
But not everything is a fight either.
But not everything is a fight. Most things are conversation.
Mm-hmm. Everything can be changed one conversation at a time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I can talk all day about diplomacy because, I'm not I'm not a diplomat. I'm not a politician, like I'm just at the end of the day, I try not to I take my job seriously, but I try not to take myself too seriously. And I also know that I play dress up for a living.
See, you got the bird's eye view and the worm's eye view at the same time, which is so hard for people to achieve. And the thing is, I don't think I really explained what the whole equity thing is going on right now, at least from what I know. And please fill in the blanks. People can join equity now, I think, for cheaper and with less credits required.
I don't think it's for cheaper.
No?
I think it's the same. It's the same prices that it was, but now you don't have to have any prior qualifications, because you had to there were 2 or 3 ways you can get your equity card, and of course, Andrew, you can speak to this more than
it's been a while since when I was joining equity. There were a couple ways you could join. You could you could be cast in a show that was equity, and then you could get into the union that way. If you were an extended an equity contract, you could buy your way in if you were in a sister union, or if you were EMC and you got if you worked under an equity contract or the EMC program, I believe it was.
And EMC stands for equity membership candidacy.
Yes, and if you did that, then and you got a certain amount of weeks, then you could join equity. So, for example, the way that I got my equity card was I did a children's theater production of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It was a tour, and I played Willy Wonka. And then at the end of that contract, it was understood that I would be given the opportunity to join equity if I decided I wanted to do that. I just pay the initiation fee and then start paying your working dues fee, and then I was part of the union. So after that tour, I took my equity card and I moved to New York City. So that was my experience. And I got, and in college, I was very much of the idea that I wouldn't work professionally in theater until I was like in my 40s. So I'm 38 now. Don't tell anybody. Oh, wait, we just told everybody. But I really, they did the whole like, look to your left, look to your right. Odds are they're not going to be here at the end of this type thing. So it was instilled in me that I wasn't going to even work. So I was actually, I'm also the guy that whenever I get cast in something, I say, well, I tricked them again into thinking that I could do this. I have imposter syndrome for sure. My whole, so it's a blessing and a curse, because every time I get a job, I'm like really, really, really excited. I don't go into a room ever thinking that I'm the best for this job. I only think I can do this job the way I would do it. Because that's all I can do. Like, there are unbelievably talented people all over this world. they say it over and over and over and over again, but it's just like you have to. You can only be you. That's it. You can only be you, and be the best you that you can be. And you see that on the other side of the casting table too. Um, work hard, be smart, do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's you. And this is kind of an interesting subject because, in theater, like you're the product. You don't even have stats really. I mean, you can have a resume and such, but like, in sports, like if you jump that high, you jump that high. Listen, it's not like if somebody hits this note, they can hit that note and then they get it. There are many, many people that can hit that note. And then it's like,
Right.
and I always say, it's like, are you
right?
It's as nebulous as like chocolate or vanilla or strawberry ice cream that you're bringing to the table.
That's true.
If they're looking for chocolate ice cream and you're strawberry flavored, you can be the best strawberry flavored ice cream they've ever had. But if they want chocolate ice cream, you're not going to get the job. There is no competition here.
Yeah.
I feel
in
like
life, it's really no competition.
The only competition for me is my like. I'm my toughest critic anyways. So why would I worry about other people? Like.
So, but always bringing it back to Jersey Boys, right? There are specific key moments that kind of deal with this. So, when they're getting ready to play as the four lovers for the first time with Handsome Hank, Tommy's trying to be like all the other groups. He's trying to be better than all the other groups because now we have a comedy show, dance, a full routine. So he's trying to be like everyone else. Not like everyone, he's trying to be better than everyone else. Right. And then in Act 2, in a completely different moment, when Bob Gaudio is pitching Can't Take to all the radios and this, and he's no Neil Sedaka. When they say, it's all a big competition.
It's right there. It's right there.
Only with
it's
the
presented
people
as
threatened by.
It's presented as a competition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you just take the word competition out, then it's called playing in a sandbox. I'm not going to say that that there isn't like an idea of competition, like when you're auditioning for a school, it's like, well, there's only this many slots and like whoever, but keep in mind that like, it's not always, it's rarely the best person who winds up doing the gig.
Right.
It's the right person.
It's the right person.
If the casting is good.
Well,
which by the way, can I say Tara Rubin casting is the best casting in New York City.
Woo!
Hands
Amen.
down.
What is for you will not pass you.
Right. My favorite thing about theater is collaboration and people. And like quite honestly for me, like on a personal level, I love getting lost in a role too. I mean, how fun is that? How cool is it to like not be yourself for a little while?
Unlike any other feeling in the world.
It's really cool. I mean, that all stems from like, psychologically, like it stems from me like being like a big kid and like, like getting made fun of and like, not being cool with girls. And then I was like, I made a girl laugh one day and I was like, well, I'm hooked. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm just going to make people laugh. But seriously, like that's kind of where it like, I know that's where it comes from. It comes from insecurity, actually. But right. I found confidence in acceptance in the theater community, and a huge thing for me. Always, like everybody's always in. If I'm throwing a party, everyone's invited, and that's how theater should be. Everybody should be invited. Now it can't be because there's only a certain amount of roles, and but that's how I look at the whole thing. Everybody has something to say. Everybody should be invited, and everybody should get to be able to play.
Right.
And I think it's an amazing.
It's a pipe
side. It's amazing side effect of the creation of the swing, because you're able to get more people involved, not just understudies, because now you have swings who are understudying the ensemble and whatever if they're covering a principal role as well. So I think that is an amazing side effect of bringing more people to the party.
Yeah, I like to party with a lot of people. What's the fun in partying with yourself?
Constantly going back to your roots, and that's what Jersey Boys teaches us. And I think that's why people love the show. It's all about the old neighborhood, and it's about all the shit that goes on, but it's told in a simple way. It's not trying to be something that it's not, and that's And that's what theater is, you know. Like the hardest thing to do is write or act in a way that's so simple, because there's so many thoughts and so many opinions about this one scene, but you have to do it in just the most practical way ever. But it takes so long to strip all that bullshit away.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Right?
hardest thing to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trained or you spent many, many years like studying it and like trying to be the best actor or the best singer or the best dancer. You know, it's like you have to remember, like, why did you do, when you started dancing, when you started acting, when you started singing, when you started, you know, sculpting, you weren't trying to be the best. You were just doing it because you love to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what though, I feel like in certain things, not maybe in my perspective, like at least from my point of view, some things are just for fun, but some things I'm like, no, I'm doing this because I want to be number one at it. Like it just depends on what it is. But but if I have that, like I need to be the best, then I know that that's not for me. You really did help me realize that just now.
Well, I'm happy.
So thank you.
Happened.
Because because it's too much to live so heavy, you know, and that's what's causing so many things to go wrong. You know, you have to just be light.
Be light.
Oh, don't worry. I can be very dark and heavy too. Like, you know, you just caught me on a light night.
Yes. No, but we're thankful that we did too, because I think we all needed it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of light, you had a lot of crazy swing stories. So what the hell happened, man?
Well, I've definitely messed up. So in the fourth preview of New World Stages, I went on for Corey. Corey got sick yeah, I think I went on for him maybe going in. No. This was a time where I actually just went on for him everything was going fine. That was my New York debut. Creative team was in the audience, and because we were still, you know, it was fourth preview, so we hadn't even opened yet, but we had an audience, and I turned around right before Walk Like a Man. You know, Bob turns around and he says, you know, gosh, what does he say?
Oh,
but yeah.
So that's the hat trick.
Yeah, well, that's at the end of it. Yeah.
Oh, you said before or after?
Before, it's going from studio into concert.
Some people have been elected president.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So
Okay.
yes, yeah, you got it. So I turn around and I start to deliver the line. Of course, there's a major scene change happening directly behind you, and then
one of the coolest transitions ever.
It's so cool, yeah. And then you put your arms back so that you can get your jacket on you, and then you walk stage left, and then you have to say that was, you know, some guys have been elected president unless, and then you go into the dance and the song. So I blanked first of all after I said something like, that was it, we were a hit, you know, like that's and then I proceeded to step backwards onto a moving pallet.
Oh no!
Yeah. And so I fell, but as the stage manager says, I kind of did this number. Whoop. Like I just fell and got right back up.
Like,
and I said, like yeah, it was just like when you punch the dummy and it just kind of like goes like that.
Yeah.
You know. That's how I felt. I was like a punching bag dummy in that moment, you know. And I fell down and I got right back up. You could hear the gasp from the audience because they, you know, spotlights on me. That's why I don't like being in the spotlight. Because I'm gonna step on a moving pallet. Somehow, I believe it was Paul Sabala got the jacket on me, and I was able to.
God.
And they were stage management said they were like a razor's edge away from like stopping the show. And then I said, some guys have been elected president unless. Meanwhile, because I've fallen on this moving pallet, the microphone's just like listing back and forth during the whole, you know, thing.
Right.
But yeah, so and then I finished out the scene, and I wasn't injured or anything like that, but at the end, I kind of like indicated, I indicated to Frankie, or somebody indicated Frankie, and then they kind of looked at me, and I just kind of like did this thing, and the audience went nuts because they knew what had happened. Like in those moments, there's no getting around it. But then I've always said to myself, they were there the night the guy fell down.
Oh,
That's memorable. Like
that's memorable.
It's kind of every time I've messed up, you're gonna be your toughest critic always. And but it's you just had to keep the lesson is you had to keep going. You can't stop.
Yep.
I couldn't stop. I mean, unless you're actually like really injured or something like that, of course. But I think that's like just being a swing. It's like you can't stop. You just have to keep going. Like nothing's ever going to be perfect. If you've delivered your perfect performance, retire. If there's a line to mess up, I've messed it. That's kind of what I mean. The thing is, well, think of all the things you've done right.
Right.
John Rochette said it to me one time. He's like, you're so hard on yourself. He was like, he's like, you rarely, you always harp on these moments that you've messed up. And so he's like, think of all the things you did right. Crew and I are banging each other against the wall. Guys, and you can't, but there's an old joke. It's like Crew and I are banging each other against the wall, and nobody's coming. So it was like this whole
because banging our heads against the wall.
Yeah,
right?
Crew and I are banging our heads against the wall, and nothing's coming.
No.
And I quite literally said, Crew and I are banging each other against and nothing's coming.
Why did we never put that together?
To which Richard turned to Danny and said, or somebody, the story was like, did he just say yeah, he said, okay. I've also said as Tommy, marriage is not love. Marriage is you take a shit while your wife sits on the can and shaves.
Same thing.
Things of that nature.
I think this is a great place to wrap up tonight's episode. This has been another episode.
Sorry.
What?
It was. I think this was a therapy episode.
It was.
This was a therapy episode of Silhouette's JB podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much to Anchor.fm for being our distributor, putting us everywhere.
Yes.
Thank you to YouTube also.
Please
check us
like,
out,
comment, and
JB
subscribe.
Podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube, Silhouette's JB Podcast. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker as Silhouette's JB Podcast. Follow our Instagram page, Silhouette's JB Podcast _ can't forget about that _ Ron Melrose. Mwah, love you, baby. And and everyone, please follow Andrew Frace on social medias. Andrew, will you please tell the people your social medias?
Yeah, it's my name. It's not gonna be hard to. Andrew Frace is everything. All my handles are Andrew Frace. Yeah.
Check out his website. On the media page on his website, there's a sick video of him singing the national anthem, Ron Melrose's arrangement of the American national anthem. Hugely tight harmonies, sick. It's awesome. And you were singing the bass part for that.
Yeah, I was really excited to be able to do that. Yeah, they let me sing the bass part for that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Did you have to learn all 4 parts?
I feel like I've learned all 4 parts at one point or another. Because usually, sometimes we do it as a big group. Sometimes you just do it with 4 people. So I'm usually, I mean, I don't think I've ever really sang the Frankie part just because it's very high.
Ron's arrangements are so. And have you heard his Australian national anthem that they sang, that the company of Jersey Boys sang out there?
I don't know if I heard the Australian version, but I mean,
we'll send it to you.
Yeah,
it's
Ron's
so
arrangements
good.
are
fucking brilliant.
Yeah, they're
thank you very much, and one final salud.
Salud.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Andrew, thank you so much for taking Jersey Boys and really turning it into more of a lesson that we all need to talk about today. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you very much, friends.
Yeah. How many months later? Like
Yeah.
10 months later.
Salud.
Yeah,
Hasta
for sure.
luego. Cheers.